The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. Another disbarment case against controversial lawyer and senatorial aspirant Larry Gadon has been filed before the Supreme Court. The complainants, Elena Felix and Jem Cabreros, are accusing Gadon of flagrantly violating the Philippine HIV and AIDS Policy Act. Recall that back in June, the lawyer insinuated in a radio program that the late former president Noynoy Aquino had HIV. The complainant stressed that the law guarantees the confidentiality and the privacy of HIV-related information to avoid discrimination. Felix and Cabreros said Gadon deserves to be disbarred as he's perpetuating stigma and is supposedly tarnishing the noble practice of law. The lawyer has already been suspended back in 2019 and is facing several other disbarment complaints. Ang Federalismo Dugong Dakilang Samahan, or PDDS, has held an emergency meeting last night after Senator Bongo announced his decision to withdraw from the presidential race. To give us more details on this, we now have Greg Gregorio. He's joining us live from Comelec in Manila. So good morning, Greg. Could you tell us what was the PDDS's reaction to Senator Bongo backing out from the presidential race?
Yes, Charles, good morning. We were able to talk to PDDS National Executive Director Glenn Badon earlier. And according to him, the party was a bit disappointed and surprised with the recent announcement of Senator Bongo about his plans on withdrawing his presidential bid from the 2022 elections. But according to Badon, they are still hopeful that the senator would be pushing through his candidacy despite his recent announcement. Charles?
All right, Greg, we have heard from Senator Go himself that he has made up his mind that this decision is final, but really, since he hasn't withdrawn yet, is this presidential candidacy decision already final?
Charles, all we know is the same, that the senator has recently announced that he will be withdrawing his candidacy, but the same question still lingers, and his withdrawal from the 2022 elections would only be made final until he would personally withdraw his candidacy as required by the Commission on Elections. And up to this date, we are still waiting whether or not the presidential aspirant under PDDS will be withdrawing his candidacy. Charles?
Right. Assuming for the sake of argument, at least for now, Greg, that Senator Bongo does back out from the presidential race, does the PDDS now have any other presidential bet in mind?
We've asked the same question to Badon earlier, and he said up to now they are still hopeful that presidential aspirant and Senator Bongo will still pursue his candidacy, and up to this point they are planning to conduct a mass action amongst supporters and members of PDDS to possibly convince Senator Bongo that despite his recent announcement, there are still supports from the ground hoping for his candidacy to push through in the next elections. Charles?
Greg, that being said, what are the current plans of PDDS after their emergency meeting last night and after the sudden announcement from their presidential bet?
Charles, according to Badon, they will have a virtual meeting today among the national coordinators of the PDDS, and they will also be having a meeting with officials again. And according to Badon, PDDS President Greco Belgica is expected or is hoping to have a conversation with Senator Bongo within the day, if not today, in the following days. Charles?
Thanks for that, Greg. That was Greg Gregorio reporting to us live from Comelec in Manila. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has confirmed the first case of Omicron in their country. National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases Director Dr. Anthony Fauci spoke at the White House to explain the situation. He said the Omicron positive patient was a returning resident who traveled to southern Africa and returned to the U.S. on November 22. The patient has since tested positive for COVID-19 and has been recovering from mild symptoms. And Fauci says they're not at all surprised.
We knew that it was just a matter of time before the first case of Omicron would be detected in the United States. And as you know, I've been saying it, and my colleagues on the medical team and others have been saying it. We know what we need to do to protect people. Get vaccinated if you're not already vaccinated. Get boosted if you've been vaccinated for more than 6 months with an mRNA or 2 months with J&J. And all the other things we've been talking about getting your children vaccinated, masking in indoor congregate settings.
The World Health Organization says travel bans won't stop the spread of the Omicron variant. WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus said that at least 23 countries have now reported cases of the new COVID-19 variant, and they expect this number to grow. However, WHO's technical lead for COVID-19, Maria Van Kerkhove, warned that travel bans also prevent South Africa from sharing vital data and samples of the Omicron variant.
Unfortunately, the virus passes in people, and the virus is in 23 countries now, and so that virus is available to many already. But travel bans do have a negative impact on the ability to ship samples out of a country.
Some vaccine brand manufacturers have admitted that their shots may lose some level of effectiveness in fighting the Omicron variant. But an expert from Johns Hopkins says it's unlikely for vaccine efficacy to drop to zero. Let's hear more from this discussion on Bloomberg Surveillance.
Gigi, you don't want to answer this question, but you're on surveillance. Are the vaccine makers talking their book? Should we listen to CEOs of profit-making companies doing magnificent science about the uncertainty of Omicron?
Well, the science will take time, and we know that. So going ahead of the science and being able to say what the vaccines are likely to do, how they're likely to perform, is full of uncertainty, and it's likely to be corrected once we get the data in.
We heard over the past 48 hours from Moderna's CEO that the existing vaccines probably won't be as effective. We've heard from the BioNTech CEO that they are likely to be effective in preventing severe illness. You've noted that anyone who tells you anything with certainty is trying to sell you something. What are these CEOs trying to sell us?
Well, they're trying to sell more doses, of course, and also the ability to recreate a vaccine that is more tailored to Omicron. That might be where we end up going, but for now, people should try to educate their immune system as best they can against this virus, and that means using the vaccines that are available.
Dr. Gronvall, the uninformed like me sort of go mRNA successful, antibody stuff not successful. Clearly that's too simplistic. But talk about that, about the success of these wonder miracle moments from Pfizer and Moderna versus all the other stuff that's confusing within the media.
So monoclonals are super cool because they basically give people an immune response. You skip a step and you give people a very specific immune response to whatever you design the monoclonal antibodies against. The problem is that the monoclonal antibodies that we have right now for treatment were designed against an earlier version of SARS-CoV-2. So sometimes that's going to mean they're going to lose efficacy, and they're so specific that's a higher risk. So yes, I mean that's an ongoing problem. On the other hand, you can make monoclonal antibodies that are targeted for this particular version of SARS-CoV-2. So hopefully that will be coming online soon.
Most of us already know that Riri is a queen, but now the award-winning singer and Fenty beauty mogul is also a national hero. MJ Marfori with the report.
Global pop superstar and entrepreneur Rihanna will continue to quote, "shine bright like a diamond" as Barbados' national hero. The singer's homeland named her a national hero for her music, notable influence, and philanthropy.
May you continue to shine like a diamond and bring honor to your nation by your words, by your actions, and to do credit wherever you shall go.
In a separate ceremony, she expressed gratitude and took pride at being a Barbadian.
This is a day that I would never, ever forget. It's also a day that I never saw coming. Y'all are the true heroes of Barbados, and I take y'all with me wherever I go. I'm so proud to be a Bajan.
The conferment comes as Barbados bids adieu to Queen Elizabeth II and nearly 400 years of British rule. The Queen is replaced by Dame Sandra Mason as their first ever president. For News 5, MJ Marfori, we are One News.
Time now for a quick look at some of today's headlines. Dozens of balikbayans, as well as 3 foreigners from South Africa, are under monitoring amid the threat of the Omicron variant. The MMDA says they will begin penalizing number coding violators starting this afternoon. And the preliminary competition for this year's Miss Grand International happens tonight. Miss Philippines Samantha Panlilio is set to rock the international stage as she vies for a spot in the semifinals. And those are the top stories at this hour. Join us later at 2 p.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.